new detail. And Lester, of course, this is an eyewitness account. We don't have those details confirmed. This is what Erin witnessed from her vantage point. We will wait for law enforcement to give us those details. But again, this is a developing situation. And right now, Erin and so many others just trying to make their way home, as there are thousands of people who were in this parking lot. Quite a bit of a traffic jam at this point as people are trying to make their way out. And of course, Lester, make sense of what it is that they just witnessed.
Yeah, Dasha, thank you for your continued great reporting there as we get these accounts, and it bears reiterating. Look, folks, there are things that we're hearing, things we're learning. We will tell them to you when we can confirm them. Obviously, the witnesses has been describing potentially other victims in this, and we continue to work that angle very aggressively. As we know more, we'll tell you about this. The same in terms of what we will hopefully be able to learn about who was behind this attack. As soon as we can tell you something we can verify, we will go right to that. Our senior White House correspondent, Kelly O'Donnell, joins us now. Kelly, talk to me about reaction from the Biden administration, obviously watching this with great concern tonight.
Well, Lester, there are important steps that the administration takes at this point. The current president has been briefed by the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, and of course, her agents were with former President Trump, are getting direct information from the scene to the president. In addition, the president has been talking with his Secretary of Homeland Security and his Homeland Security advisor inside the White House. That, of course, is Alejandro Mayorkas, the secretary at the cabinet level, and Liz Sherwood Randall, who advises the president on potential homeland threats inside the United States. In this moment, it is not candidate and candidate. This is the sitting president having to deal with the law enforcement piece, the national security implications, and sort of the mindset of the nation when an event like this happens. So the president is getting those threads of information coming into him. He is in Delaware right now. The vice president has also received an initial briefing. And certainly we are also hearing from others who have had their own experience and still do with the Secret Service. Former President George W. Bush putting out a statement saying that he and Laura Bush are grateful to the Secret Service that they were able to get former President Trump to safety, and they're concerned, of course, about what this incident was about, and they thank first responders for their swift action. So all the apparatus of the federal government shifts to deal with something like this. The Secret Service is involved in the investigation. They are also, of course, involved in the day-to-day protection of the former president. I have been told, based on my reporting, that the level of protection that he would receive as a former president, which has been his existence these last 3.5 years, heading into the convention in Milwaukee, he would be getting a larger detail as the presumptive candidate going forward. So expecting already plans in the works for him to have a more robust set of agents and procedures around him. They're also, of course, waiting to envelop the new running mate to be named at some point, and that person would also have Secret Service protection when former President Trump announces his pick. What happened today rattles the very core of the Secret Service. They do train for this. They are dealing with this potential threat at every event all the time. Here at the White House, where I am right now, no visible sign of any enhanced security. They are focused on certainly the events surrounding the former president at that location. It would also include state and local authorities who would be on the ground participating in the investigation, which would typically be led by the FBI. So as far as any contact from the president, he's got a team of senior advisors around him who are able to give him direct information from the Secret Service, as well as the Department of Justice, law enforcement, and importantly, those Homeland Security advisors, both at the cabinet level and inside the White House, who may have more of a picture about potential threats or concerns that our colleague Tom Winter was talking about. That's where we are at this point from the White House, Lester.
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you very much. Excuse me. The good news is, again, we saw the former president leaving, getting into the car, pretty much under his own power, certainly supported and escorted to safety. But he looks like he will be okay. And once again, flashing that triumphant fist that is characteristic of many of his campaigns. For those of you just tuning in, we want to play for you the moment when Secret Service agents rushed former President Trump off the stage. We want to caution you that we don't know exactly who said what's captioned on the screen or why they said it, because it was such a chaotic moment, but here it is.
Are we good?
And again, that moment of chaos, you hear the screams in the crowd as people are beginning to learn that something is amiss there. Our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, is with us on the phone. He continues to get reaction and national security details. What can you tell us now?
Lester, while I'm on the phone with you, one of my colleagues is on the phone with the local district attorney in that county who tells NBC News that the alleged shooter, the person they believe responsible for this event, is in fact deceased. So again, to repeat, the local district attorney in the area where the Trump rally is telling one of our colleagues right now that in fact the alleged shooter, the person they believe to be responsible for this, is deceased. We do not yet have a name or identity of that individual. We don't know their background, where they may have come from, any sort of personal motivations. That's information we're still trying to gather. But that's the headline. The second component of this, 3 senior U.S. law enforcement officials tell myself and colleague Jonathan Dienst that there appear to have been, or they're looking into whether or not several other individuals were shot that were in the crowd. Those are not individuals suspected to be involved in this. Those were either rally-goers or bystanders, but they're looking into whether at least 2 other individuals were shot as well. So that's the latest update that would seem to indicate to us a couple of things. One, they believe they know who did this. They believe they know where they were, potentially what they were using, and they can now start to do a lot of detailed investigative work. We don't know, although there is no indication at this time, that any other individual was involved, but obviously it's very early and very preliminary on that front, and a lot more work will presumably need to be done.
Yeah, let me just follow up on that. I think you may have answered the question, but we did hear from one witness a bit earlier who seemed to believe that there were 2 individuals involved. You're saying that the local DA is saying 1 shooter is deceased. So the belief is that it is a single shooter?
The belief at this time is that that's the case, because what they said was that the person they believe is responsible is deceased. So they did not indicate that there were any other individuals. But that's, again, Lester, as you well know, we're less than 2 hours into this, and so there's a lot of information, a lot of things that are fluid on the ground. And just because this individual may or may not have been assisted by others at this rally, did they have any sort of help in any other way? Those are big questions that will be answered in the next couple of minutes or hours. Typically, based on past events, as you know, this is usually just 1 individual that's involved. But of course, investigators have to keep their minds open. And as reporters who are relying on that information, the investigation that is going on in our own homework, we're keeping our minds open too.
And Tom, you and your team certainly have a huge depth of experience in these kind of breaking news matters, especially when they involve issues like what we're seeing play out here. Is it likely this thing is going to unfold very quickly, that they will work backwards from the moment of the shooting and have a pretty good idea of what they're dealing with?
So let's take, for law enforcement, worst case scenario with respect to the investigation. If this individual had no identity on him, no sort of background, the FBI would be able to instant fingerprint him at the scene. They would be able to get information, and either that way they'd look into facial recognition to see if they could identify him in any sort of government database. From there, you might know where the individual lives, any relatives. They will comb through every inch and ounce of his social media. They will have the ability to go to social media companies and ask for an emergency warrant, and they will most certainly be granted to get access to those communications, cell phone communications, text communications.
Tom?
All of that will be part of the instant investigation.
I apologize to ask you a question, then I have to interrupt you, but we are getting some confirmation. The Butler County DA is now telling us that one spectator has died in this incident. 1 has been apparently wounded and is in critical condition, and the shooter, as Tom has been reporting, is dead. So to repeat that news, and this comes via the Butler County DA, 1 spectator at this Trump rally is dead. Another is in critical condition, and the shooter, what we believe right at this hour, the lone shooter, is also dead. And as our colleague Tom Winter was reporting, they will work very quickly and work backwards, and will likely know a lot about this individual in a short amount of time. You see former President Trump trying to acknowledge the crowd while being obviously stunned and being led to the safety of an armored vehicle, but it appears that he is okay, suffering what we've all been able to see, some sort of a graze-type wound to his ear. We hear him, asking for his shoes. He is led away. He continues to turn toward the crowd to offer a sense of assurance that he is okay. He is now clear of that scene as people continue to leave, all of them telling stories of hearing these pops. Some of them, one woman we had on was able to describe the shooter. Now that we've got that confirmed, her account certainly jibes with what we're getting now from the officials in Butler County, Pennsylvania. And that is the crowd here trying to rally their spirits, and certainly this was several minutes apparently into the former president's rally there in Pennsylvania when this occurred. Multiple what sounded like shots, pops, but we presume there were gunshots fired in his direction as he was looking to the right, and a little unclear. He grabs his ear, and then you can see this team of Secret Service agents can quickly swarm him, confirm that he is clear, out of danger, the risk nullified, and then he is escorted to his vehicle and to safety. That area you're looking at right now is a crime scene. We've seen subsequent pictures where you see the police crime tape, and they will treat it as any other crime scene and try to get the details of this. We don't know what this means in terms of the exact injury that former President Trump received, what treatment he may be receiving, what this will do to his ability to campaign. We certainly, of course, expect to see him in this coming week as the Republican National Convention is about to begin on Monday in Milwaukee. So RNC officials certainly trying to figure that out. But right now, the greatest concern is from that angle is the health of the former president. And of course, thoughts also turning now to the one spectator who was killed in this, another spectator who was in critical condition from a wound sustained during all this. NBC's Dasha Burns is just outside that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh. She has been giving us plenty of updates here. Dasha, as you've heard, we've now been able to confirm that at least one spectator has been killed in this, and the shooter himself is dead.
Lester, just for those who are joining us in this moment, just a reminder that our team, we were in the press pen when this happened. We were in front of a camera, just getting off camera as the former president started to speak. Just a few minutes into his speech, this transpired. We ran for cover as we were trying to figure out what exactly had happened, initially thinking it was NBC News just reporting that one of the attendees has deceased, has died from injuries as a result of the shooting. Joseph, you told me off camera that you may have witnessed this, and I'm so sorry to be talking to you in this tragic moment, but can you describe what it is that you saw?
I was attending the rally. I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium where President Trump was speaking. I was there with friends. I heard several gunshots. The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head, was instantly killed, fell to the bottom of the bleachers. Another woman looked like she got hit in the forearm or hand. And then at that point in time, it was rather chaotic at that point because half the people were looking because they thought it was fireworks. I knew it was gunshots right away. My friend, he hit the deck. I was kind of looking around just trying to see where the shots were coming from. It seemed to me like the shots were coming from behind the bleachers. It seemed to me the man got hit in the head from behind. He was killed instantly, as far as I could tell. And at that point, a state police and a SWAT team, started evacuating the bleachers, and then I helped carry the man out of the bleachers to a tent that was behind the bleachers.
You helped carry the man yourself. What was his condition when you were carrying him?
He's deceased. He died.
How close were you to him?
A couple yards. It wasn't very far.
Did you know the man?
No, it's a complete stranger. They put a towel over his head and then carried him off.
And you said there was another woman nearby who was also injured. Where was she in relation to him?
I believe she was in the bleachers, like either behind, above me, or just to the side of him. But it seemed like she was kind of at my flank, and then she flinched, and it looked like she had taken a gunshot wound to the forearm and hand.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard multiple gunshots, 8 to 11 shots. We've been hearing it replayed on the video here. Do you remember, can you tell, I know it was a chaotic scene, but at what point, was it immediately when you heard the gunshots that he was shot, or was it later on into the firing?
The first 7, he was hit, and she was hit within the first 7 shots. I counted 7 shots.
What was going through your mind? You were right there. I know it happened so quickly, but what can you tell us about those moments?
First, I was in shock because I know what gunshots sound like, so I knew they were gunshots. I couldn't tell from where they were coming from. And when I noticed someone got hit, then I noticed, well, it seemed like they were coming from behind me. And it just was pandemonium. And then I heard some more shots, and I couldn't quite tell where they were coming from. But I counted the first 7, and they were very loud and very close. And it killed one man and wounded another woman.
And Joseph, you told me that you're a doctor, you're an OBGYN. How did that background play into how quickly you were sort of able to assess the situation and know what happened to these individuals and know what was going on?
Well, I told the police, I tried to render assistance. I told the police I could render assistance. They had another physician on the EMT team, so they kind of took over. So they didn't really need me, so I kind of helped carry him down initially out of the bleachers. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't, the man that got hit, there was no assistance that needed to be given. And unfortunately, his family witnessed the whole thing. It seemed like he had several family members in the bleacher with him. And they were quite upset. They didn't know, they were in shock. They didn't quite know what was going on. But the man was definitely killed instantaneously.
Could you tell sort of how many family members or people who knew him were with him, and what was their reaction?
I thought there was 5 people. 2 of them were relatively hysterical. So, but they were, when we took the man out of the bleachers, he went to the tent. There was an aid tent or some type of tent behind the bleachers where they took the body, and they immediately evacuated the family with them. And 2 out of the 5, it seemed like, in shock, hysterical. Like they were still trying to process what was going on.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard the shots. We saw the president go down.
Yeah, I saw President Trump get hit.
Yeah. What can you tell us? What details you remember?
It seemed like his head was off to the side, and it seemed like he got nicked in the ear.
Was that before the Secret Service took him down to the ground, covered him?
Right before the Secret Service. I mean, it was maybe, again, it's hard to tell, time dilates when, it seemed like it was a second or 2. Like that first 7 shots that went off, the man got hit. He was killed almost instantly. The woman in the bleachers, she got injured, like she got hit in the forearm and the hand. And then in those rounds that were fired, again, I was videoing the event, so that's when I saw Trump get hit. And it seemed to me like he was looking to the side and the round grazed his ear. So.
Could you tell the gentleman that was hit in the head what angle he was in relation to the former president, like which direction the bullets were coming from and to?
So it looked like he was facing the president at the very far left portion of the bleachers, so he's directly facing it. Again, it seemed to me like the shots were coming from the rear, like behind us. And for me, it seemed like the man was in the way. I guess...
In the way of the former president?
No, it seemed like the man was in the way of the shots between whoever was shooting the gun and the president. The man was hit, it seemed like he was in the crossfire.
And I know... And I know you're in shock and still processing all of this. It's sort of hard to evaluate our own emotions in this moment, but you just experienced something horrific.
Yes.
What can you tell us about your state of mind right now?
Yeah, I've had opportunities to go to these rallies before. It's the first one I ever went to. I had, time off to go do it. I was kind of excited to go, but it's... everyone, it's something you don't expect. It comes out of the blue. It's like a bolt out of the blue, and it's shocking. The way politics goes in this country, it just seems like it's really polarized. Everyone's just very angry. I'm honestly shocked this didn't happen earlier. I was commenting to my friend who went to the event with me. I was like, the back behind the bleachers, it's really open. It seems like a really open venue, and it's just, I got this sense that, if someone really wanted to do something, and again, I was openly talking to her, and I was like, you know, if something was bad was going to be happening, this is the perfect venue to have. I just said this like an hour before it happened. I was like, this would be the perfect place to do it. And, you know, surprisingly enough, it happened.
A devastatingly prescient observation from you. Let me ask you one more question, because from where I was, there was confusion. Then Trump stood up and there were some cheers. And then people sort of remained, those that weren't in sort of the immediate zone where you were, people were still sort of cheering, talking, trying to figure out what was going on. How quickly did you know that whether or not there was still a dangerous situation? It seemed like people sort of started to try to move on very quickly, not sure what had happened, right? So how soon did you know whether or not it was even safe? Did you want to get out of there? What did you witness in sort of the immediate aftermath once the shots stopped?
Well, it seemed after the shots went off, everyone thought it was a prank. Everyone, I think, got a sense, like when I looked out into the crowd, everyone thought I think the initial reaction, everyone thought it was a prank. I knew better it was a gunshot because I just saw a guy get hit. And it did.
For those of us that didn't see, some people started laughing, some people were confused. It wasn't immediately clear to the crowd that didn't witness what you witnessed, you know, that this was in fact a dangerous and deadly situation.
Oh, it was a dangerous and deadly situation. The problem is it's a large crowd, and when the gunshots went off, I think they were, again, my sense was they were being shot from behind, so they sounded a bit muffled. So it sounded more like a firecracker going off. So I think the initial reaction from the people around me were like, okay, well, someone brought fireworks. I just knew better. I knew what gunshots sound like. And, you know, when I saw the guy took a gunshot wound to the head, and I saw the woman that got hit in the forearm and the hand, I just knew that it wasn't fireworks. I mean, it wasn't fireworks initially, but I think the majority of the crowd didn't understand that it was gunfire. And I think people took it really seriously when the SWAT team started jumping over the rails. So I don't know what to tell you outside of that.
Joseph, I know this, I can't imagine what it takes to describe what you just witnessed in these moments right in the aftermath. So we thank you so much for sharing.
We're happy to.